Good morning, making moves. It's Tim Vitale, your favorite host. I'm here by myself today. Tim Vest is busy, so you're going to have to put up with me and my dog Miller. So, good morning. Good morning. Hope everyone's having a great week. Want to first talk about our event coming up. So, November 18 and 19, Tim Vest and I are putting on a mastermind event, or we're calling it Race Cars and Real Estate, because we're going to be driving Porsche 911s on the track at the Porsche Driving Experience in Atlanta. We are working on getting another speaker. We had one speaker lined up, but unfortunately couldn't get them to commit. They had some other things going on. So again, that's November 18th and 19th in Atlanta. We're going to be doing the Race Cars and Real Estate event. We got one speaker lined up, Sam Silverman. Really excited to have him on at the event. I mean, he is just incredible. I think last time I touched base with him, he had officially done $25 million in equity placements since he started his real estate, commercial real estate journey. I think it was last May 2021, to be honest with you. So he's making leaps and bounds of strides. Absolutely incredible what he's doing. He's going to be talking about raising money and building relationships with investors. Myself, I'll be talking about mindset and underwriting. And Tim Vest is going to be talking about how he gets access to all these deals. He's got such a full pipeline of deals with brokers and absolutely crushing it with deal flow. So super excited about that. Race Cars and Real Estate, November 18th and 19th. It's going to be $3,000 a ticket. There's only 20 seats available. So no more, no less. 20 seats. That's it. It's going to be a really fun event. What else? We have one spot left for our coaching group that starts the week after Labor Day. So if you're interested in joining our coaching group, only one spot left. Reach out to me if you want some more details on that, or you can go to our website, mmimf.com, makingmovesinmultifamily.com. All right, enough with the announcements. Nobody cares about that. So we are closing a deal today, and I'm actually closing another deal tomorrow, which is a seller finance deal. So I want to talk a little bit about some things that we learned and that we struggled through with this closing. We haven't officially sent out the email to our investors and everything, and we haven't seen the money hit our account yet, but as of last night has been fully recorded and funded on our side and the bank side. So for all intents and purposes, it is officially closed, but we have not yet notified everyone because we haven't seen the money in our account yet. So don't count your chickens till they hatch. So this deal, man, it completely turned my life upside down in the end of June. This deal was going very, very, very smoothly. We finished due diligence, no problems. We had our lenders on board. We had the loan documents, we had the PPM, we had everything ready to rock and roll. And literally the day before we were about to start raising money from private investors, the bank called and said, we're pulling the loan. And that was like a couple days after the Fed raised the rate. So a lot of the reason that we think that the Fed pulled that loan, the bank pulled that loan, was because of the rates. Another thing that they said that they weren't happy with was that two of the partners on the deal were already partners in the deal. They said, and this was news to me. I said to myself, and even our lending broker had said, they're like, I don't understand why the bank has got an issue with this situation, because really at the end of the day, if the partners currently think that the deal is so good that they want to invest their money and buy it again, then they would, think that the deal is a strong deal. So that's not actually what happened. So when the bank found out that myself and another partner were already partners in this deal, and we were minority partners in the deal, we weren't like we didn't sign the deed or anything like that. But then when they found out about that, they called it, and this is the first time I've ever heard of it, it was called a backdoor refinance. I don't know if anybody else out there has heard of a backdoor refinance, but it's definitely something to be aware of. So the bank pulled the loan for more than one reason, and hey, everything got turned upside down. So that was around June 20th or something like that, and then we were supposed to close on this deal by July 21st, and we were all set to do that. We had everything ready to rock and roll, and we had to go back out to market with a whole new loan package and get an entirely new lender. We ended up working with the seller. Thankfully, he's a good friend of mine. We ended up working with the seller and getting a free 30-day extension. We kind of explained what was going on, and we had a good relationship, right? And I think that transparency is really important. And I think that if you're trying to like pull a fast one on somebody and you're not being completely truthful, then it's not going to work out in your favor. So I just laid out my cards and I said, "Here, man, this is what's going on. This is what just happened. We're trying to make this work. We're not giving up. We're not just going to roll over and die here just because the bank pulled the note." So they gave us a free 30-day extension. We kind of went back and forth. They wanted something for that because nobody gets anything for free. There's no such thing as a free lunch. So we ended up getting a free 30-day extension. And with that 30-day extension, we then had 60 days now to go out and get a whole new loan package and raise all the money and do everything. So about 3.5 weeks later, we did get a new loan. We got a new term sheet, and we had to order everything rushed. So the cost of everything was double because we needed to get the appraisal. Look, we ordered the appraisal that was a 2-week turnaround. And thankfully, we paid for the 2-week turnaround because it did take 2 weeks to turn it around. We ended up going over the timeline a couple of days. So we were supposed to close by August 25th. And I said, "Hey guys, all the money's in escrow. We have the bank loans out, everything's set up, everything's signed. We just need a little bit more time because the attorneys are, doing what attorneys do, and that's run up their bill." Yeah, you think so too, huh? Right, buddy? He doesn't like when attorneys run up the bill. So yeah, it was an interesting learning experience because I've never had something like that happen to me before. We've always gone out to market, we've gotten our loan, and then we've signed the term sheet and then moved forward with it. Never have I ever seen where they canceled the loan on us. I mean, it was a whole new experience, and it tried my patience, and it really tried just the willpower, right? The willpower that was necessary in order to get through that deal entirely was something else. And don't get me wrong here. This wasn't all me. I mean, I have awesome partners. Tim Vest, Lisa and Billy Poloni, Sam Silverman, and Nicole Gauthier. They are all partners on this deal, and we collectively worked together and got the job done. And it was difficult. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. It was probably the most stressful July and August I've ever had, between the difficulties with the sellers. I mean, with the lender's attorney. I mean, she was something else. I mean, I can't blame her though. She was doing her job, but way more thorough than anybody I've ever seen before. So it was really, really difficult to get through. And, it's a testament to just being able to push through to the end. I mean, it's not, if this business, if this was easy, everybody would do it. And I know that, there's like 14 or 15 people watching right now. And I think all of you recognize that if it were easy, everyone would do it. I mean, why do you think that when you're trying to get into this business, so many people just quit, right? They quit because they find out that it's not easy. And they're like, "Wait a second, I've been doing this for months now and I still haven't gotten a deal. I'm giving up. Like, this isn't true." I mean, it took me almost 2 years, 2 years to get into my first commercial deal. 3 years from when I officially started doing the whole real estate thing. And it's true that your partners are so important, and you want to invest in somebody that is going to see it through to the finish line. And that doesn't only mean when you're a limited partner investing in a deal. It also means when you're a a partner in a deal, like a GP partner in a deal. You want to make sure you have good partners that aren't just going to quit, right? And they're not going to say, "Oh, well, this is a no, so we might as well, maybe we're not supposed to do this." No, I mean, you got to get back out there. I mean, we had our money in this deal, and I was for sure not losing that $70,000 or whatever we had that was hard in the deal, just because the bank pulled the loan. And I mean, you go listen to anybody's story, and everyone has a war story like this. And I'm encouraging those of you that are on this call right now to drop one of your war stories in the chat, and I'd love to talk about it a little bit. Because I feel like nobody really talks about the struggles. Nobody really talks about what it was like to lose sleep about not being able to get into this loan, that we were going to lose this money. And $70,000 to some people is not a lot of money, but to other people is a fuck ton of money, right? And I don't care who you are, losing $70,000 is not a good thing. I mean, that's like a brand new Ram 1500, limited edition. Like, it's a nice truck you just lost. if you want to equate it to something tangible like that. So, it was incredibly difficult, and I'm really glad that I have the partners that I do, because it just makes the process easier when you can share the load with somebody. I mean, with a group of people, and everyone has the common, the common goal of getting to the finish line, and it's invaluable to make sure that you can rely on your partners to help you see projects through. Another thing that happened right before closing, oh my God, I have never been so stressed out in my entire life. I got a call on Friday from the attorney, and the attorney, his assistant, or whatever you want to call his assistant, messed up the settlement statement, and they didn't put the loan amount in the settlement statement correctly. Mike Hotlisser and I have a story worth of a full podcast episode. I'm JD. I'm dude. I have so much more to talk about this story, but I'm not trying to, like, bore everyone with all the details. But what happened on Friday, and I see Nicole's in here. What happened in Friday was the attorney called and said, "Hey Tim, you're about $1 million short in escrow. When are you going to send the wire?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? $1 million short?" And I was in the mountains of North Carolina at a friend's wedding up in Hendersonville, North Carolina. And I had like very, very, very spotty service. And I am just like floored. Like my stomach hit the floor. I couldn't eat. I couldn't look at anything. And my wife, she had never seen me like stressed before. I've never even seen myself that stressed before. And she was like, I could feel it in my bones how stressed you were when the attorney called and said that we were $1 million short in escrow. And I was talking to Tim Vest, and he had that initial gut feeling that something was wrong. But then we both agreed that I couldn't be that far off. I mean, sure, if you're off like 25 or $50,000 because you're using estimates on your closing costs and things like that, that shit's gonna happen, right? I mean, that's why it's called an estimate of the closing costs, because you're not really gonna know until you get to the settlement statement. But what ended up happening was they put the loan advance amount. So the total loan amount was 5.5 million, and of that 5.5 million, a million and a half, 1.1 million was the rehab budget. So on the settlement statement, they only put the loan advance of $4.4 million, and then they also put on the debit column the rehab budget of $1.1 million. So effectively, what they were doing is they were double counting the rehab budget and not putting the loan amount correctly into the settlement statement. So once that was fixed, everything was fine. But getting to that point was like 3 hours of hell, because I like couldn't think straight. I couldn't eat. I was like, I had to leave the wedding because it was at like a campground. If you've seen the movie Heavyweights, they actually did their wedding at Camp Hope. It's called Camp Pinnacle. So we had the wedding there, and we were doing camp games, and we were paddleboarding and everything. And I was like, we got to leave, and I got to go handle this right now. So that was another learning lesson. Was like, I knew that the attorney was wrong somehow. I didn't know what it was, but it did take me a little bit of time to figure it out. And that, the stress that came along with that was, I don't want to say that it wasn't warranted, because like if somebody calls you and tells you that you're $1 million short in escrow, like you better like, put some urgency around fixing that, especially on a $6 million deal. So that was an interesting thing as well. But once we got all that stuff ironed out, it was like the last punch in the face with this deal of getting it to the closing table was the escrow. So in summary, like, the we got our loan dropped like a week after the Fed raised rates, and we already had our term sheet signed and all that other kind of stuff. We had to go back out to market. It took us 3 weeks to get another loan. We negotiated with the seller. We got an extra 30-day extension for free, just because we told them what was going on, and it was really out of our control. And they knew that we were going to close on the deal. It was just that we needed a little bit more time. So they were willing to work with us and give us that free 30-day extension. And then at the closing table, the settlement attorney messed up the settlement statement, and we were like $1 million short in escrow, which just completely threw me through a loop, because I was mentally checked out. Like, yeah, we were done with this. Oh, and that's another thing I want to talk about, being mentally checked out, was when we had gotten the loan originally that was dropped in June. I admit, like in my head, I was like, okay, cool. This part of the job is done now. We've already like negotiated. We've already got our loan. We've already signed the term sheet. Like, we're good. Let's order the appraisal. The next thing in this whole ordeal is finishing the PPM and the operating agreement and the subscription agreement, and then start raising money. And when we had to flip back the switch back to lending, that was like a huge mental hurdle, because I had kind of checked that box, like we were done with that part of the deal, and then having to go back to it just kind of completely threw me through a loop. So, it definitely wasn't easy, but I'm glad that we saw it through. Let me see a couple comments here. Nicole, she said, "You guys already know my war stories. This isn't an easy business, but keeping the goal and end in mind will help push past it." Absolutely, I agree with you 100%. And Christina, she said, "I had a fight with a so-called wholesaler and wanted to keep my earnest money after seller backed out of the contract. I lost $3,000, but attorneys paid with his services. At the end, it worked out for me. The same attorney helped me with another deal that I had to fetch prior owner, and he was her attorney too." Hey, I agree. You put good energy out into the world and you do the right thing, and it can never hurt you. It might not pay dividends right then and there, but you can sleep well at night knowing that you did the right thing at the end of the day. And I think that that is so incredibly important. Um, Oh, that's why you were quiet these days. Glad it all worked out. Yeah, like Christina, I pretty much ignored everybody for the last couple of days, for the last week or so, just because my primary concern and my primary focus was getting this deal closed. And we got multiple deals closing, and it's been a trip, that's for sure. So that's the war story on that deal that we're closing today. I'm probably going to make a Facebook post about it once it's been officially once I see the money, once the money's in the account, that's when I like that. That's when we start telling people that it's officially closed. We'll send out the email to our investors and make a post on social media. But yeah, so that's one deal, and then I'm closing another deal. So this deal I've been talking about for a while. It's a 24 unit deal down in Florence, South Carolina. I ended up negotiating with the seller and getting some seller financing on that, where he's carrying back 30% of the down payment. So I only have to come out of pocket like $60,000 for the bank, plus maybe like $13,000 in closing costs or something like that. So it's really nothing. And a huge win on that deal, which I'm really, really excited about, was I have it under contract for just over 900 grand, and it appraised as is today for 1.1 million. So I just made like 200 grand on paper right there. I mean, real estate is absolutely incredible. All of that goes right into my net worth, which helps me sign on debt, which helps me, be a key principal in deals, which helps me sign on the loans for the deals that we're doing. So we don't have to give away equity to, key principals for them to sign on the debt for us. So that's another win in the checkbox. So I'm probably gonna make a post about that deal, because I sold a condo which was in Charlotte, North Carolina, and that was my first deal ever. Like, that was my first investment real estate deal that I ever bought. And I'll make this post about how I turned $25,000 into like $1.5 million or whatever. Just because I'm taking that money and reinvesting the profits into another deal, into a bigger deal, into a bigger deal. And I'll do a post on that and like how I realized that I should sell that deal. Long story short, I was looking at the return on equity. I had like $100,000 in equity, and I was only making $2,000 a year. It's like, wow, I'm getting 2% per year. Time to sell this and move up into something bigger and better. So let that be a lesson to you. When you're looking at your portfolio, don't only just look at how much cash flow you're getting. Look at the stabilized value. Look at how much equity that you're getting. And if your return on equity is less than 10%, I'd probably consider or start looking down that path of, how can I sell this property or get access to that equity so that I can use that money and put it to work? Whether that's selling it, refinancing it, getting a home equity line of credit. There's a lot of different ways that you can get access to that capital, but you want to make sure how you continue to grow your wealth, your absolute wealth, is by looking at your return on equity. I think it's a very overlooked return metric that people don't really put enough consideration into. So take a look at return on equity. So this deal, this one is, oh, thanks, Patrick. I appreciate it. Looking forward to working with you starting in like a week, a little over a week now. So appreciate that. So this 24 unit deal that I'm closing, this one is just a very interesting transaction. I have just been in the dark the whole time, and it seems really weird, but it's a small town, and the guy that owns it has owned it since it was. I think his dad built it back in like the '70s, and he inherited it, and then he wasn't really well into. He didn't really want to sell it, but then broker came to him and was like, if I could get you this, would you sell it? And hey, I saw there was a lot of meat on the bone. I offered him a number that had some seller financing piece in it. He ended up going with that, and here we are. But yeah, interesting deal on that was like, uh, I had no idea what's going on, right? It's like it's the weirdest transaction. I could call the bank and the bank would never answer my phone or answer my phone call, and I'd leave voicemails and send emails, and like nobody was responding. My attorney wasn't responding. His attorney wasn't responding. I could talk to the broker. I talked to him all the time, and he even agreed with me. He was like, "I don't. This is the weirdest transaction because no one seems to be talking about like where we are in this closing process." And I've been ready to close for like a month now since we've been done with due diligence, but I haven't been able to get an answer out of anybody. So we're talking to the property management company that's going to be taking it over, and then they're like, "Oh, we can't take this over for another month." And I said, "What are you talking about? I mean, it's been known since I put this under contract in June that your company was going to take this over in property management. What are you talking about that this is not done?" So what did I learn from that? I learned from those processes and procedures that I need to make sure that even though I'm paying professionals to do their job, I need to know what the expectation is even better than what I do now so that I can keep them on track and accountable for where we are in the process. Each state is going to be a little different with like property management rules and regulations and things like that. But at the end of the day, whether you're syndicating the deal or you're buying it for yourself, you need to know these things. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I guess I was a little too lax, and I trusted that people were gonna do their job, and shame on me, right? Like I shouldn't have just assumed that people were gonna do their job and be as diligent as I am. And then when we're like 2 days out from closing, I'm sending an email, nobody's responding, and my follow-up email over the weekend or on Monday, yesterday, was guys, I have no idea what we're doing with this transaction. Nobody's answering me. I can't get any responses out of the bank, out of nobody. I can't figure out what is going on with this. And then everyone starts to come to life and starts answering stuff. Thank God, because they were like, I think what I personally think is that they realized that the ball had been dropped, that nobody was really paying attention to this transaction, that I was concerned about not being able to close it by the end of the contract, and they didn't really care that much. And I was following up and chasing people constantly for estimates and quotes and trying to build out this rehab budget. And I'm still trying to get those estimates and quotes, and I'm sending text messages daily, and I sound like a broken record, and it's quite annoying to be honest with you. I mean, it's like I'm paying you people to do this job, but at the end of the day, I'm sitting here like begging for information. So what you really need to learn from my mistake is document, even though that you're following up and you're doing all of the things, is really having a better like I have a checklist of things that need to be done throughout closing, right? But my checklist was more catered to syndications, and it works when you're just buying a property yourself. But there were a lot of things in there that other people did for me that I didn't realize was necessary. So, I mean, that kind of brings it all back to partnerships again. Why partnerships are so important, because when somebody else is not doing something, or maybe one of your partners is doing something you didn't even know needed to be done, but it's done, right? So it's really learning and understanding the process and having better connections with people and understanding what everybody's roles and everything in this whole situation are. So very, very important to make sure that you're documenting your processes, and you're dotting your T's and crossing your I's. And when people aren't picking up the phone, I probably should have just driven there and knocked on the door and said, "Hey, like, what is going on with this? You're not answering my phone. You're not answering my emails. Like, what is going on? Like, I need to know what's going on. My money's on the line here. Like, and I don't want to lose this transaction." So, hey, like, I think it's important that we talk about our learning exercises here, right? Oh yeah, look, somebody else has been there. I feel your pain. It's like I hate that that's a common saying. And, I personally don't think real estate itself as an industry is very complicated. I think it is a very simple process. I think that, once you have all the right people in place, that it should go fairly smoothly. The process for any deal that you buy is it's just replication. It's doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. Sure, there's some variables there with like how you want to structure a deal or like your lending or your business plan or whatever, but at the end of the day, it's mostly the same thing over and over and over again, right? So that's why I'm here talking about what I learned, what I did wrong, what I'm going to improve on, because I don't want you guys to make the same mistakes. Because I mean, I'm not going gray yet or bald. I mean, the tide's going out a little bit, but I still have most of my hair at my young age of 32. But if I can avoid some of this stress and help you guys avoid some of the stress, then I should, right? That's the whole point of doing these Facebook lives and having these groups, is like talking about the experiences, documenting the process, being vulnerable enough to talk about what I did wrong and what I learned. Because I feel like, people should talk about that. It's not always rah, rah, like we're amazing. The appraisal came in $200,000 higher than what we budget or what we had in our contract for. Like, yeah, that's great. That's a win. But you really didn't, I mean, you really didn't have anything to do with that, right? I mean, the appraisal is what it is. The market dictates what the property's worth, right? At the end of the day. And of course, there's some value there with the underwriting, and you make money when you buy and all the money in spreadsheets and all that other kind of stuff. But people make mistakes along the way. I mean, there's a lot of things that can go wrong over that 60, 90, 120-day period while you have these commercial deals under contract. So take it from me, make sure you're documenting your stuff and stay on top of people. It might feel like you're annoying them, and that's okay. You're paying them to do a job. If you're annoying them, then you're definitely not going to use them again in the next transaction. So remember, real estate is a relationship business. The more people the more access you have to different professions and people that you need in order to be successful with whatever you're doing. And if you didn't like the way something went, you have the power to change it. So go out there and build your relationships, and talk to people that are doing deals in your markets and ask them for recommendations of who's good, who's bad, why were they bad, right? Ask questions to understand, not just to inform, because you want to have some context, because everyone's going to have a different opinion about people, processes, places, whatever, and it's up to you to do your own research or due diligence on all of this stuff, because at the end of the day, it's your money, your name, your business on the line. So all good stuff though, right? Like, I love being able to learn. I love being able to grow. I love making mistakes because I'm failing. But every time I fail, I learn from that experience, and I can move forward in my business, and I can provide value to the group here. I can provide value to anybody that watches these Facebook lives. And hopefully what I'm saying is going to help protect you in the future and make it so that you don't make the same mistakes. Because if we're all making the same mistakes over and over and over and over again, nobody's really growing. I mean, it's like, you're doing a disservice to the community if you're not helping other people. So I'm a big believer in being a go-giver, and me being a go-giver is talking about my experiences and where I screwed up, because I don't think people talk about that enough. So what's Alicia Milton says, yes, sometimes in person, get things done. Learned that from my husband for sure. Absolutely. Like, being a keyboard warrior, when you send emails and things like that, and nobody's responding, it's very easy to ignore an email. Like, God damn it, I'm guilty of it. I have like 14 emails in my inbox right now, and they're just things that I know I need to take care of, but they weren't my number one priority because I had other things going on. And sometimes you got to you got to put in the work and the time, and be in person. You got to go do what you have to do. It's not always just working behind a desk and making phone calls. I mean, sometimes you got to be in person. There's no replacement for that face-to-face time. So I agree. Anyways, that's almost all the time I got for today. I'll get off my soapbox. I hope that the transparency that I've provided today helps you guys a little bit in the future, and that you don't go out and make the same mistakes that I do. And if you do, it's okay. Like, don't kill yourself over it. I'm not going to kill myself over it. I'm still going to accomplish what I wanted to, and just put myself through a little bit more stress than I guess I wanted. And I'm sure that there's value there, right? I mean, there's value that you can always learn and improve your systems and processes. And I mean, we got a lot of units under, like under management and under contract and all that kind of stuff. And I'm learning something new every day. So Daniela, she says there aren't many honest and probably open people like you. We appreciate the time you dedicate to teach us from your experiences. Thanks, Daniela. I appreciate that. I'm trying to be an open book and just show exactly what I'm learning through this process. Yeah, absolutely, Patrick. Chelsea Vernon, appreciate the transparency, Tim. That's why you're the best. Hey, I try. Nothing's off the table, right? If I can't talk about it openly and publicly, then I'm probably doing something wrong. And I'm if you're doing something wrong, like that's immoral, right? I mean, it's like, I just can't stand people like that do stuff like that. Oh, Jason, you're a stud. Stop it. All right, thanks everyone. That's all the time we got for today. Appreciate it. Tune in next week. We'll have some more stuff for you. Appreciate it.